Xenoblade Chronicles. You know, that one game that I can't stop making music videos for? Well, today I have something original to praise the game for. Its areas. The entire premise of Xenoblade Chronicles revolves around two great titans in a huge battle until their lifeless corpses remained, and life sprung up on them. And the areas of the two titans are amazing and are all connected to one specific part of the body. Even without the creative premise, the areas of the two titans are fantastic. However, it seems that covering areas in a game such as this would be a monstrous task. So to help me, I've brought a friend.
Hey guys, I'm Monado Max and I will join Gamerman365 for our top 10 areas in Xenoblade Chronicles. We will base our choices on things like the aesthetics, music, side quests, story relevance and all that kind of stuff. Of course that means we will be spoiling pretty much everything in Xenoblade Chronicles, so that's why there is a timestamp at the beginning of every entry. So if you have not yet reached that point, simply skip ahead. So, you guys ready to travel through the biomes and Mechonis all over again?
Heck yeah, it's time to start exploring!
Starting this list off, we have the home of the Hyantia and at that point the most recent party member, that being Melia, Alchemoth. Compared to the homes of the Homs and Nappan, this place is definitely something else. Their technology is clearly much more advanced when compared to the other races, as we can see with the teleporters and escalators, and the place is even floating over air sea with a beautiful sight on the Bionis.
However, the area is not as explorable, and in my opinion the traversal of the area is a bore due to the fact that there are no enemies whatsoever, but the clean royal aesthetic is very pleasing to traverse through. The interior with all the royal inscriptions and water plus the lighting really works in the place's favor. Heck, even the outside with a rich community and beautiful gardens really helps this get to number 10. The travel around this area really seems to be somewhat cut off with teleporters and varying areas. The views of Area C are beautiful, so that's a plus. The music complements this feeling with the organ and opera. This is definitely style over substance.
Since this is the home of Melia, of course a lot of our heart-to-hearts take place here. Like talking about the princess life with Shulk or her childhood with Reiner 7 for example. In the capital we have many NPCs walking around, but no real buildings or landmarks that really pop out. Well, there is this secret club on the second floor, which you have to get in for some side quests in front of your village, but sadly there aren't really any special side quests from the residents themselves. At least not at this moment.
The first part of Alchemoth's story is the arrest of Shulk and his friends. The people of Alchemoth were afraid of the Monado and are worried of the destruction it could have caused in the wrong hands. Now for the best part of this area, the development of Melia Antiqua and Alvis, which are probably my favorite characters in the entire game. Alvis is revealed to be the seer of the royal family and has served Melia for many years. This leads to lots of foreshadowing of later events of danger and peril. But we'll get to that in a later entry. Melia, as mentioned before, is next in line to be the crown princess of the Hyantia. However, Melia is hated by a good amount of people due to who she is, a half Homs, half Hyantia. We see the opposing forces known as the Inquisitors try to take down any oppositions to their goals, as a boss fight commences against them. Melia pushes through her struggles and serves her people the best she can. However, her status as half Homs was intentional.
After Zenza got released, he and his disciples revealed a true purpose for the Hyantia, to transform into Lefia, preparing for Zenza's reawakening. Melia has to watch the gruesome transformation of her people and her brother, but this was also the reason the royal family wanted to dilute the bloodline, so the race would get immune thanks to not having pure Hyantia bloods. The few remaining Hyantia are in a similar situation as the Homs in the earlier days of Xenoblade, with them having to stay in refugee camps.
Now there's one aspect of this moment I was not aware of, but good old Monado boy over here has a story to tell.
Alchemoth is not accessible anymore as skip travel since all the residents are monsters now, but the transport in Area C still works, meaning that you can still get back to the capital. Man, was I in for the shock the first time coming back. There's a purple fog in the air and the place is swarmed with Telethia. All transporters except for the one at the entrance are destroyed, so the area is really limited to explore. We get a very depressive atmosphere as a result, but there is still hope for them. The remaining Hyantia and some outstanders are dedicated on rebuilding the capital and give a bunch of side quests regarding the lost city. Thanks to them you eventually get to repair the transporters and get the option to see the hearts you missed. Alchemoth might seem like an ordinary futuristic city at first, but what happens later on gave the area much more depth, earning it the number 10 spot on the list.
Starting the game, after the prologue, we're introduced to the home of our main protagonist, and oh boy is it a peaceful paradise. Colony 9 works well as a starting area due to its restrictive but open design. The abundance of NPCs really involves the player and gives the sense of home. There's a lot of resources which can help you start out right on your quest. The extra shores and segments are so fun to explore. It's glorious with the views and beach aesthetic. But what does this community hold, Max?
This place and its people do a great job of showing you how most basic elements work. You immediately get introduced to shops, landmarks and NPCs with side quests to offer, but nothing gets really forced upon you. You get enough time to experiment with everything. Most side quests are pretty basic, none are really too demanding, but they do encourage you to explore the area. The hearts are pretty solid, the two Ashok and his friends are actually some of my favorites. But it's not like that's everything this area has to offer. More side quests and heart-to-hearts open when you progress through the game, so you have many reasons to revisit this area during your playthrough.
Colony 9's basic landscape and characters really don't make it all that special, but its design and areas are the highlight. They would be the main attraction if the story wasn't involved. The start of the game involves character development of your starting party and understanding of the Monado, with Shulk discussing his research with Dixon, thinking about it more at Outlook Park, and seeing his first vision into the future. Players start to learn about the personalities and traits of Shulk, Ryan, Fiora, Dunban, and Dixon. However, while one of the personalities is quite charming to see, it sets us up for disaster.
Not long after you get introduced to the characters and the mechanics, the game decides to throw you right back into the action. The Mechan are back and start an assault on the colony where you least expected it. The injured Dunban resorts into using the Monado again while Shulk's friends have just returned to the colony. When the boys get separated from Fiora and Dunban can't take any more of the Monado, Shulk takes over the sword and gets a vision. He sees himself getting hit, but using this to his advantage, he gets flawlessly through all these Mechan. Everything just feels amazing blasting through all these robots that gave you trouble earlier. But then, Metalface shows up, and everything changes. The Monado was always made out to be this almighty weapon, but it doesn't seem to affect Metalface. After hopelessly thrashing around for a while, the game decides to throw one of the strongest cutscenes your way. The party gets obliterated, and right at the point where the phased Mechan is about to crush everyone, Fiora comes in an attempt to save her friends. Shulk then gets his first vision about someone else, seeing Fiora die, but unable to do anything to change it. Enraged by his childhood friend dying, Shulk unleashes his rage on Metalface, only for it to flee afterwards. This is one of the most impactful and memorable parts in the game. You get to see how defenseless you are against phases, in the gameplay itself and in the cutscenes. This was the moment where many players, including me, realized how much they loved this game already.
I'll kill you!
Fast forward to the end and we're right back where we started. Fiora is alive as a hums and things are just normal. The happy side of Colony 9 makes the player feel accomplished after the final battle. The resolution with all of the characters put a smile on my face. No, scratch that. The entire final cutscene made me smile. This was the last reminder I needed of the masterpiece I had beaten.
The places in Xenoblade Chronicles have a lot of variety in them. We have a cheery and open colony in the form of Colony 9, but at the other side of the spectrum we have a destroyed and restricted one in the form of Colony 6.
Now, Colony 6 was very disappointing the first time visiting the place. A tightly locked gate blocks any hope of visiting the area. So after dealing with Zord and escaping the Ether Mine lands you in one of the most chilling story moments in the game, the reintroduction of Metalface. After Zord turning out not to be who they were expecting, Metalface delivers in such a stylized way, making the traversal through the Ether Mine worth it. First up, Metalface's voice. His cynical manner drives our main protagonist to channel his inner desire for revenge, and as such, the same great line delivery previously mentioned in Colony 9's tragic tale produces the same effect, giving off chills.
Screams were music to my ears. My claws slid right through her soft flesh, like a hot knife through butter.
Talk all you want, because those words will be your last!
However, that's not the big deal in this moment. Dunban and Dixon joining the party really helped elevate this moment to an unforgettable level. Unfortunately for the crew, Metalface's army has plenty of face Mechan and they are outnumbered, But then right when the end seems near, a Telethia saves them, and a mysterious figure, later revealed to be Alvis, instructed Telethia to do so. Shulk uses this distraction caused by the creature to use all of his strength into destroying Metalface, making a considerable amount of damage on this robot. Considering what's happened in other Face Mechon encounters, Shulk also has a vision of him defeating Metalface on some sort of black tower, which is later revealed to be Prison Island by Dixon, and so the party has a new destination to reach.
Colony 6 takes a long hiatus from the story until right after the event in Mechonic's core. Right after witnessing the most heartbreaking cutscenes, the party retreats to Colony 6. A lot of character developments happened in a short time. Shulk is in a coma and talks in his dream to Elvis about his destiny, and you get an optional, mostly one-sided heart-to-heart with Melia and Shulk, where she finally confesses her feelings, but accepts the fact that he lost Fiora and the two will never be a thing. This is probably my favorite Melia moment. It shows how strong she has become and how much she cares for her friends. As Melia is talking with Fiora about the time she has left, a Telethia attack begins. This is your first battle you aren't pointed to losing in quite a while, and you might see how hard it is fighting without Shulk. As the situation is getting more and more hopeless, our Monado Ball returns in the most badass way possible. With his new Monado replica in hand, he slices through hordes of Telethia, making Dixon of all people tremble with fear. This whole chain of events is unforgettable for me, which makes me like this area even more. We of course can't discuss Colony 6 without mentioning the rebuilding of the colony. Right after realizing he's a useless fighter, Juju goes back to rebuild his home. Of course he still needs your help with gathering the necessary materials. This is a very long side quest that lasts over the entire game. Getting the collectibles can be an absolute nightmare. Some of them have a very low spawn rate and others are from areas that later become unavailable. I actually got pretty close to fully completing it the first time, but then I just stopped because I couldn't get 2 Red Frontiers to spawn in. Until one fortunate day where they just happened to spawn in and I decided to finish this quest. Believe me, there's nothing more satisfying than looking over your finished colony, knowing that you helped making this possible. For every level that you complete colony, the music gets more and more lively and more people start to move in, so you could witness the progress with your own eyes. And even if you're not there for the accomplishment, you still get a lot out of it. Some heart to heart, side quests with insane rewards, and some new shops. I can't say I did much in this area regarding the side quests, but there is one exception.
Probably one of the biggest side quests in the game begins in Colony 6, after the Telethia transformation. First off, it's the only side quest to ever have vocal cutscenes, even though the animation is done via the game engine. The side quest involves the development of Melia's half-sister Tyrea. This portrays the prejudicial kind mentioned earlier. In fact, Tyrea was the one who confronted Melia in the ancient tomb to obey Melia's stepmother Eumea's orders to purge the royal family of impure blood. Melia then goes to explain why Tyrea did what she did and her anger towards Melia due to the fact that she took her place as crown princess. Tyrea then attacks Melia with her anger, speaking about pure blood, with Ryan of all people coming to the half-Hum's defense. Tyrea leaves the ship where she was being taken care of, and a Telethia shows up, attacking Colony 6. They pursue this Telethia, but to where? You'll find out soon enough. Colony 6 might be overlooked by some, but had a lot to offer. If you haven't already, I would at least try to finish reconstructing Colony 6. It's definitely worth the time and effort. What's great about Colony 6 is the fact that you build the good design yourself, which gives the player a real feeling of accomplishment due to some difficult tasks. Not only that, but the melancholy Tyrea is also a good distraction for your main goal, which at that point would probably be
"You'll pay for your insolence!"
Even without the side quest, there are plenty of great moments, such as unfinished battle and the Telethia attack. It may not be the best to explore, but dang, those moments make me come back for more. Now that we've gone through both Colony 9 and 6, it's time to move on to the rich, natural areas of Bionis. Who's ready for something lush, dense, and tropical? Machna Forest, ladies and gentlemen. This area is one of the most gorgeous in the game. So much of this area I enjoy. From the beautiful waterfall to the tropical aesthetic with the tribal architecture, it's just wonderful. The music of this area really complements all the strong aspects. It's so lively yet majestic, making it a great area to run around in and relax. My adventurous mindset really came alive when I got here. This area is so fun to traverse through, giving off the feeling of a jungle safari. The design of the area is not the best, focusing a bit too much on linearity for the first half, but for the second half of the area, it just opens up for exploration. But what is there to be found?
Aside from all the crazy plant and animal life, this area has a lot for you to do. Having Frontier Village located in the center, a lot of its side quests require you to go into Magna Forest for the collectibles and materials. And you have to do a lot of them if you want to get the Mystery of Magna Ruin side quest line, which will eventually give you an insane reward. Hanging out with the Nopon and doing their chores can be a fun distraction from the story.
To me, the story really comes through and introduces two of my favorite characters, Melia Antiqua and Alvis. Both of their personalities are so pleasing to see unfold on screen. Melia is also added to the party as a fighter. Her playstyle revolves around using ether energy. I really enjoy her playstyle, one of the best in the game. For an area to introduce two of the best characters in one, that has to be pretty special.
But wait, you can't forget about the objective, coolest character in the entire game that joined you in this part, Ricky. He's an Nopon from Frontier Village, and while he might seem like a bit of a joke character at the start, he is a strong fighter that offers one of the most versatile combat styles in the entire game, since he has a huge variety of odds to choose from to make him a supportive character, a tank, or as most people use him, a status inflictor. Getting 2 new party members in this part might seem a bit too much, but it's pretty useful for what's coming up.
Now we are introduced to these characters in interesting ways. Magna Forest is the first area to develop on the creatures known as Telethia. And what do you know, the two previously mentioned characters involved in this. Melia fights off a Telethia as it defeats her 4 guards, who protected her as a child. Shulk and company find Melia unconscious in the forest. Charlotte go ask Shulk to fetch her water crystals to help heal Melia. When Shulk goes to get the crystals, he comes across the mysterious figure Alvis. Their conversation is cut short when a different Telethia comes in and reads Shulk's movements. Vision assisted, I must add, puzzling Shulk as he defeats him. Alvis then uses the Monado and unlocks Monado Purge, teaching Shulk the common way to remove common Telethia aura, Soul Read. With that, Shulk defeats the Telethia and goes back with the water crystals. Melia awakes, initially being frightened, but then asks for her forgiveness. And they all go to Frontier Village.
After the Nopon chief provided the party with this year's legendary Heropon, that being Ricky, the group advances to defeat the Telethia. Arriving in a lifeless part of the forest, a Telethia appears and you get a new way of dealing with Soul Reads, Melia's Mind Blast. This fight will be a lot easier if you use ether based characters like Melia and Ricky, since their attacks aren't forced into missing with Soul Reads. It gives the enemy place on the halfway punch, which automatically makes this battle 10 times better than it already was, and the fight goes on as usual. It was nothing too special, but at least it was something different for fighting all these Mechon. But this isn't the last time the forest has to deal with Telethia.
This area also gives closure to the Melancholy Tyrea side quest. A boss battle with the Telethia commences, and it's not that easy. It's actually a level 80 boss, which is a somewhat daunting task. The Telethia is not actually Tyrea, but her mother Umea. Melia decides to fulfill the duty of killing Umea after her Telethia transformation, due to her duty as a princess. The conversation before this really hits home Tyrea's relationship with her mother and the duties she would carry out for her. What a quest. It's sad people can just miss it.
Magna Forest took the simple concept of, being a forest, and while it didn't really bring anything new to the table, the relaxing nature of this area and the events that happened in it made it really stand out for us. Man, remember when Xenoblade was considered an underrated game that nobody knew about? Yeah, good times. It's still surprising to see how much this game blew up in the last 5 years. I, like most people, got to know the game thanks to Super Smash Bros. Shulk became my main and it didn't take me long for me to try his game out. I was in for a treat when I first arrived at Gawa Plains. Or Bionos Lag if you're going to scold me for not using the correct name.
Oops!
So, Gaur Plains, Bionos Lag, or whatever you want to call this place, is probably one of the most recognized areas in Xenoblade Chronicles thanks to its stage in Super Smash Bros. In this game it comes right at the perfect moment too. You just came out of the narrow Tephra cave, so right after that you get one of the most open areas in the entire game. What do you think of it, G-Man?
I really enjoy how much the design opens up due to the fact that the first few hours were somewhat restrictive, but this is home the open design of Bionis that will apply for that part of the adventure. Not only that, but the area is breathtaking. There are so many secrets, such as caves, or any alternate paths. I was so encouraged to explore this game's world, but the design wasn't the only contributing factor to my desire. The music really encouraged me to explore the lush grasslands of this very open area. The natural enemies really show how much rich life on Bionis there is. The area is beautiful, rich, and open with amazing music. It doesn't get much better than this.
Well, for me, one of my favorite parts about this area was the refugee camp. After the Mechon attack on Colony 6, some of the people got evacuated to this place. Most are elderly and children, with some exceptions. I feel like I got more attached to these NPCs than with any other area, since they all lost their home, friends and family, and I just find it so heartwarming to see that they still care so much about each other. This is one of the only places where I did almost all these side quests for. Granted, there aren't that many side quests in this place, but it's still quite the achievement for someone like me. Also, the refugee camp music. I love it on so many levels. It's a simple melody, but it captures the feeling of the camp so well. Like they are grateful to have been saved, but they regret that they have to leave the others behind. Not to mention how fitting this theme is with the two hearts to hearts that take place here.
The refugee camp also introduces the first outside party member, Charla, a sharpshooter and medic. The story revolves around her younger brother Juju trying to show what he is capable of doing, seeing the others as cowards. Charla also tells us about the tragedy of Colony 6 and what happened, and her hope that Gato was still alive, defeating the Mechon. Ryan actually reminds her of Gato, and their relationship really expanded upon that idea. Juju ends up leaving to go help Colony 6, but Shulk sees him in danger being attacked by a Mechon, and they rush over to save him. Some tentacle-like Mechon attacks Juju, and Charla is seen to be in danger as well, and due to the fact that the Monado bends to Shulk's will, he unlocks Monado's speed and saves her. They defeat the Mechon, but Shulk's vision also involved a face, who they thought was Metal Face, but no. A mysterious face Mechon who speaks takes Juju away. Charlotte then has a dream sequence about Colony 6 and Gato, which in my opinion was the best story element in the area. This drives her to go with Shulk and Ryan, and they set off to Colony 6. Gower Plains has a lot going for it, with the characters, music, and area. This is the first truly open area of the game, and it makes a good first impression, but there are plenty of shortcomings. While I personally thought Charlotte's dream sequence was well executed and impactful, that's the only true story highlight in this area. Everything else is just somewhat bland to me. Not only that, but this area contains the biggest exploration letdown. Just why?